Turks, Jake Uygur, Kasparian with you guys. Okay, I'm excited. We've got a big show for you, of course, filled with good news. Hey, that's not always the case, but also terror and rage. So it's a song. It's a song of fire and ice. So later tonight, by the way, more programming for you guys on our Twitch channel. So tonight on Between Me and Uygur is Tommy Chong. Huh, fun for everybody. So that's on twitch.tv/TYT. And that is going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern, must-see TV, twitch.tv/TYT. I think it said Tommy Gong. Pretty sure it's Chong. Tommy's been on the show before. Yeah, it says Gong. No, it's definitely Chong. Okay, anyway. And right afterwards, we'll be playing Game Night. Oh, that's fun. Whatever that is. Apparently, we'll be playing Jackbox games. So a bunch of TYT hosts on there.
Fun.
All right, okay. It sounds fun. Whatever Jackbox is. Okay. Anyway, so that's on twitch.tv. You got it. So now, one other fun thing for members before we get started. Shop TYT's got Member Appreciation Week going on for you guys. We're bringing back the trucker hats. Oh, yeah. Keep on Turkin'. Get it? Get it? We used to have that slogan on trucker hats like over a decade ago. Anyway, the member hats are gone. I told you things are going to sell out, and they sold out. The masks are going like crazy. ShopTYT.com. That's just normal, and I'm worried those are going to sell out. But if these are for members, you get a discount, okay? So in order to be a member, TYT.com/join. In order to get the discount, go to TYT.com/notice, and that's where they'll give you the discount code and get those cool trucker hats. All right, check it out. Casper, go.
Progressive candidate Charles Booker has taken the lead over the establishment pick, Amy McGrath. Now, due to the election officials still counting mail-in ballots, we still don't know who the winner will be for sure. But remember, Amy McGrath earlier had a lead over Charles Booker, and it was not looking good for Booker. So in the very least, as things stand right now, Booker definitely has a good chance of being the Democratic nominee to run against Mitch McConnell for that Senate seat in Kentucky. So with 12% of the state's precincts reporting, Booker, whose candidacy has received the support of progressive lawmakers and groups around the world, or the country, I should say, led McGrath 45.1% to 40.2%, or just over 3,200 votes. The numbers changed a tiny bit the last time I checked, with Booker still holding tight on that lead. So that's good. And also hundreds of thousands of voters did cast absentee ballots that will take, unfortunately, several days to a week for election offices to count. Given the substantial number of remaining ballots that officials in Kentucky's two largest counties, Jefferson and Fayette, still have to process over the next several days, the race will almost certainly not be called until June 30th. So we still have to wait before officially calling it. But this is good news. It's a good update to a race that we care a lot about.
Okay. First, let me officially say, here comes Booker. Okay. So on election night, they had a tiny amount of votes, and Amy McGrath had about a 10-point lead. It turns out that was totally illusory. And we told you on election night, because we're good at this, that Lexington and Louisville had not come in yet, and so that those numbers really didn't mean much, and that Charles Booker, being a state legislator from Louisville and having, honestly, more progressive, more African-American votes, but not just African-American, more progressive votes in places like Louisville would actually do really well when those came in, and he has. Now, I got to temper your expectations, because it's still a small percentage of the vote that has been officially counted. So it really could go either way. It's super exciting to see it go back and forth, and especially when our folks start to surge and win. But as we tell you on every election night, and come here on election night, so we're going to do one. We've got a super important one next Tuesday as well. Colorado, where you've got a battle royale, Romanoff versus Hickenlooper on Tuesday night, next Tuesday night. You got to check it out. I'm on pins and needles. Romanoff, the progressive, has closed a 40-point lead on Hickenlooper. Okay,
Jeez.
So But so that's real. That's in real time. But on election nights, as we give you the results, it's just the reporting that's coming in. The votes already happened, right? So Booker or McGrath has already won. We just don't know who. So, but it's very exciting. And obviously, at a bare minimum, it is super close when it should not have been super close. Do you know how much money Amy McGrath raised? $41 million. And it looks like right now she's neck and neck or might lose. So that is the strength of progressives. Now, why did Charles Booker surge from almost nothing in the polls within the last month to basically a tie at this point? Well, a couple of things happened. He was prominently featured in the protests. And remember, Breonna Taylor is from Kentucky, and that's where a lot of the big protests were happening. He got tear gas in those protests, and he was a leader in that community, but for all of Kentucky. Now, but really, honestly, most importantly, it was the endorsements and the media coverage. He got endorsements from Bernie Sanders, AOC, but not just those guys, Ayanna Pressley, Katie Porter. Now, these wound up, Elizabeth Warren, and these wound up making a big, big difference because it then led to the press going, oh, he's legitimate. Before they considered him completely illegitimate and refused to cover him. But once the press started covering him, and then the papers in Louisville and Lexington, all of a sudden they endorsed him. And so with that media coverage, any progressive can win in the country. You just have to let the voters know that they have a choice. The minute they know they have a choice, we're totally in the ballgame. And you saw what happened on Tuesday as well. Jamal Bowman is going to Congress. He's a Justice Democrat, took out another Democratic leader. Mondaire Jones is going to Congress in the 17th District. And so, and more to come. There's still some close races that are going to be decided. But it was a fantastic night for progressives. So all of a sudden we are resurgent. And the number one thing, guys, is the endorsements leading to media coverage. The media coverage is what does it, but you need the endorsements for that. So I say to Bernie Sanders and yes, Elizabeth Warren and to AOC and to all of them, the squad, just Democratic incumbents that are in office right now, you have got to endorse. And the earlier you do it, the better. If they'd endorse Booker even earlier, right now it might not even be a contest. And so, look, and I say that not just because I'm excited about Booker and what could happen here in Kentucky, but also because you got Cori Bush. Cori Bush is an amazing Justice Democrat in Missouri. You got to help her. You got to help her right now. I don't want to hear talk about, oh, my colleague incumbent and all that nonsense, okay? You got Alex Morse in Massachusetts. And then you got non-just Democrats that are amazing, like Mike Siegel in Texas, Andrew Romanoff in Colorado, and one more. She's already passed her primary, but the general election is so important for her to win. Cara Eastman, a Just Democrat in Nebraska. So if these folks win, even if half of those win, it's over. Squad 2.0, Justice Democrats cavalry arrives. So I cannot overstate how important Tuesday was. And if Booker wins, we can beat McConnell. We can beat McConnell. Imagine beating McConnell, the progressive in Kentucky.
Okay, well, since you mentioned the possibility of beating McConnell, during a recent MSNBC interview, Charles Booker was asked that question, and I actually really loved his answer. So let's take a quick look at that.
Mitch McConnell, unpopular. His favorable ratings, 23%, unfavorable, 46%. And yet, when you are polled against him, either yourself, really, or Amy McGrath, he gets like 52, 53% of the vote against either one of you. How do you beat him if he's that unpopular but still manages to poll ahead?
Well, Joy, when you come from a place like where I come from, the polls typically don't account for us because no one listens to us. Turnout tends to be lower in Kentucky because a lot of people have given up and they haven't felt like it made a difference. That's why our campaign is so important, because we're inspiring people to believe that things can actually be different, that this is bigger than beating him, that is for us, which is why we're having folks that are organizing across Kentucky that have never been involved before. So we're going to defy the odds, and we're going to defy those polls, and I know it's true. The only way you beat Mitch McConnell is by taking a fight to him, holding him accountable for what he's done, but then also inspiring people to know that if they speak up, no matter where they're from, what pronoun they use, whether they're walking in a wheelchair, whether they look like me or not, that they matter. We'll build the movement that money can't beat, that Mitch McConnell's corruption can't stop, and we'll win this. And there is nothing Mitch can do about it.
So I love the strength that he's really sharing in that interview and in that answer. And I just want to note that he does have a better chance, according to the polling that was shared in that segment. He has a better chance than Amy McGrath at beating Mitch McConnell. And I think a big reason why is because McGrath is trying to position herself as a pro-Trump Democrat. Why would pro-Trump Republicans vote for a pro-Trump Democrat when they can vote for a pro-Trump Republican like Mitch McConnell? So it just makes no sense.
It's not just Amy McGrath. You have to understand how asinine Chuck Schumer is. So he's the one who picked Amy McGrath and told all of his rich donors to give money to Amy McGrath. He's been doing this strategy for 20 damn years. Oh, okay, I'm going to kiss Republican ass while I'm trying to defeat Republicans. It makes no sense. It's never made any sense, except some of those wealthiest donors, well, they like Republicans and they like corporate Democrats. It's not about beating the other guys. It's about being good boys and girls and listening to orders given from above. So whereas Charles Booker says, I'm going to take the fight to him. That's your only chance. I mean, look, think about how irrational Democrats are. And so much, the media went along with them for so long to say, oh, we think that the Democrat who won't fight Republicans and Mitch McConnell is the one more likely than the one who will fight them. No one could be that blindingly stupid. It's the money. It's the money. Now, which leads me to the second point. Charles Booker says, okay, yeah, he might outraise me. On the other hand, Amy McGrath just outraised me by $40 million. And it looks like I might have kicked her ass. So that is a compelling argument for I don't give a damn how much Mitch McConnell has. Here comes Charles Booker. Yeah, I tell you right now, I can't wait for the final results. If Booker wins, we're going to get McConnell. We're going to get him, and we're going to throw all in. But if McGrath wins, what are you going to throw all in on a pro-Trump person?
Yeah.
Here comes Booker.
All right, well, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about what's happening with the pandemic, because the numbers are not good for the United States, especially in states like Texas and Florida. So Republican lawmakers are starting to turn on Donald Trump, especially lawmakers in the Senate, where they are beginning to see Trump as a liability when it comes to their chances of getting reelected. Now, one of those Republicans who spoke out against Donald Trump is John Cornyn, who said the following in regard to Trump shutting down or ending funding toward community testing centers for coronavirus in 13 different centers, 7 of which will impact Texas. So Cornyn says, quote, "It's pretty clear to me, and I think it's clear to all of us, that with the uptick of cases, now is not a time to retreat from our vigilance in testing. I believe that they need to extend the federal support in Texas, at least until we get this most recent uptick in cases addressed." Now, look, Cornyn has definitely cause for worry. There's no question about it. And if you look at how some of the incumbent Republicans are polling in the Senate right now, some of these Trump loyalists, they definitely have a cause for concern. Trump is hurting their polling numbers, and that's allowing them, because they're feckless and unbelievably weak, that is allowing them to finally speak up against Trump. By the way, Cornyn's statements echoed Cruz's sentiments a few hours earlier. A spokesperson for the junior senator said that he has, quote, urged and will continue to urge HHS and FEMA to extend the community testing sites in Texas. But again, Trump was very clear in stating that he wanted to slow the testing down. And now he's putting action behind those words by defunding these community testing sites.
Okay, so a number of things here. First, quick aside, Beto O'Rourke could have easily beat Cornyn if he stayed a progressive and run in the Senate campaign instead of trying to be president and be an establishment hack. And so it's one of the most disappointing career fizzles I've ever seen in my life. So now it's a little harder to beat Cornyn, but it could still be done. And that's why he's in a panic. I mean, let's keep him open. Let's keep him open. Oh, all of a sudden, now you're concerned about coronavirus. Why? Because as always with Republicans, because it might affect you and your beloved, cherished political career. All of a sudden, Ted Cruz cares about coronavirus? Please. So why are they concerned? Spiking cases in Texas, record number of cases, more so than in March, April, or any other time. By the way, record number of cases in America, more than in March or April or any other time. Yesterday, record number one, okay? So we're talking about like, oh, is there a resurgence? No, you're not getting it. It's worse than it was before. And so, Anna, Trump came out again and talked about how, when we slow down the test, when we do testing, it's a big disadvantage, he said, quote, disadvantage, okay? Now, wait a minute. From a health perspective, testing is not at all a disadvantage. It is only a giant advantage. There is zero disadvantage in testing if you care about people's health and saving their lives. The only possible disadvantage is, in Trump's mind, the optics for his own political career. And so he is, again, accidentally admitting, I don't care about your life. The only thing I care about is my career. And it's not arguable. He shut down the centers in Texas. And now that's why Cornyn and Cruz are in a panic. We got to open it back up. We're going to lose.
Exactly. And just to give you specific numbers to what you referred to earlier, on June 24th, we actually did break a record in the number of new coronavirus cases. So we set that record at 38,672 new cases. The previous record was actually back in April 25th to be exact, where we had 36,001 new cases of coronavirus. So the numbers keep going up. Donald Trump has made it clear he wants to slow down the testing, and now he's actually putting the action behind those words. And guess what is also happening? Well, reporters have done a pretty decent job in reporting on this. I will give them a lot of credit for that. And so since they've done a good job, the HHS spokesperson, Michael Caputo, is angry with them and had a call with reporters where he basically berated them and yelled at them. Here's a little tidbit from that call.
The reason why we put this call together so quickly and why we have upwards of 75 reporters on this call is because you've been spun up. Somebody has given you disinformation. You understand? I'm old enough to remember when it was considered dishonest to undermine public confidence in the public health system. That's what the people who spun you on this story are trying to do. This is less than 1/1,000th of the testing facilities in this nation. Less than 1/1,000th. And yet you're spending an hour on a telephone call, and we are taking people away from the fight against the coronavirus so that your information can be corrected. The people who told you this are undermining the public health system. And I would urge you, I am on the record with you, to call them back and ask them, why are they working to undermine the public health system in the middle of a pandemic? This is less than 1/1,000th of the testing facilities out there, and you've spent an hour on or more on it. Please report this accurately. Thank you very much.
Man, Cenk, I've been home. I've been social distancing. I am pent up. I am dying for a debate. I would love to be on a call like that. I mean, his efforts in attempting to intimidate reporters for doing their jobs, while, by the way, totally trying to misinform them about what's going on, is just absolutely disgusting. Reporters, were not happy with how that went. But I do want to just quickly give you some information and statistics about what's happening in Texas, which is going to be impacted by these community testing centers shutting down. First off, the director of emergency management in Dallas told reporters that he had requested federal support beyond June 30th and was denied. And of course, that federal support would go toward testing in Texas. And testing in Texas is very important right now because they are experiencing a significant surge in new coronavirus cases. For instance, on Wednesday, the state reported more than 5,500 additional COVID-19 cases. That's in one day. Governor Greg Abbott ordered all licensed hospitals in the hard-hit Bexar, Dallas, Harris, and Travis counties to postpone elective procedures in order to protect hospital capacity for COVID-19 patients. So we're going backwards, okay? ICU units will not be able to take care of patients who don't have coronavirus. They have to make sure that they prioritize coronavirus patients because of this uptick. Also, there are currently 4,389 COVID-19 patients currently hospitalized statewide in Texas, and that's up from a week ago where the state had about 2,793. So Greg Abbott, by the way, and officials in Texas wanted to prematurely open the state back up. They did it. They prematurely opened the state back up, and that has contributed to what we're seeing right now. And when Abbott was asked, well, what are you going to do now? Are you going to continue, opening businesses up? He said, well, we're going to pause. We're going to pause, but we're not going to go back and have businesses shut back down.
Yeah. Okay. What's the point of a pause? The bars, the restaurants, the gyms, they're all open. So what's left to open? This is absurd. So back to Caputo for a second. He says, you guys reporting what we're doing is dangerous to the public health. No, moron. You closing down the testing centers is dangerous to people's health. Us reporting it is not dangerous. But that's how they really think. And by the way, Caputo is literally a borderline lunatic. So this guy is a spokesperson for Department of Health and Human Services. He has said that he thinks coronavirus might be a George Soros plot. He has said that he thinks a Democrat might purposely spread coronavirus so that hundreds of thousands of people die from it to blame Donald Trump. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, a total, utter lunatic. And then here, I'll give you, and by the way, of course, you're going to be shocked to find out also a racist. He has blamed the Chinese 1,000 times over, called the Chinese virus, Wuhan virus, nonstop. But that's not all. He said it's because, quote, millions of Chinese sucked the blood out of rabid bats as an appetizer and ate the ass out of anteaters. That's what he said about the Chinese and why this virus started. This rabid, lunatic racist is yelling at reporters while his department is shutting down testing centers and getting people killed. And now let me go to Trump. Well, are you slowing it down or are you not? We've gone back and forth now. Was it tongue-in-cheek? Was it not tongue-in-cheek? First they said it wasn't, then he said it wasn't. And today he said to Christian Broadcasting Network, well, it's semi-tongue-in-cheek. That's a quote. What the hell does that mean, you loser? He says, it's unfair, the testing. It's unfair. Who's it unfair to? The people being tested? The people being protected? No, he thinks it's unfair to him. It isn't about you, you narcissistic ass. He says it's unfair. We're doing so much testing, but so much more than any country. And to be honest with you, when you do more testing, you find more cases. And he says, I think we put ourselves at a disadvantage. It is not a disadvantage to do testing. It's only a disadvantage to your career, you think. And he says it makes us look way bad. Now, let me give you one last thing here because it's important, because his propaganda works with dumb people in the country known as Republicans. So in the case of coronavirus, you can argue about testing and the number of cases that are. What you cannot argue about is the number of deaths. So you can't fake that. It's doctors reporting deaths from coronavirus. It is what it is. There's no way around it, right? Even if you didn't do any testing, they would still die, right? So what is the world average? The world average is around 63 deaths per 1 million people so far for coronavirus. By the way, that is a devastating number. That's a giant number for a disease, 63. Now, some countries have done better. So remarkably, unbelievably, Turkey has done better than average, and hence their number of deaths per million is a little lower. It's at 60. New Zealand has done brilliant job, absolutely brilliant. This is per capita. It's not based on population. So for every million, you know what it is for New Zealand? Only 4 deaths. Why? Same thing with Turkey and New Zealand, but New Zealand did even better. Testing, contact tracing, and immediately finding out, quarantining the people that are affected. Their economy is in better shape, and their health is in infinitely better shape. Now, how did the U.S. do? Because Trump says, oh, we did such a great job, people are blaming us for it. So the world average is about 63. So are we at 62, 64? What are we at? 377 deaths per 1 million people. We are way, way worse than the world average. We have done an abysmal job. It's because of clowns like Caputo and Trump and Abbott and Cornyn and Cruz, who all thought, well, if we test, it'll be politically embarrassing for us. And they let thousands of people die on our watch. Current death toll in America is 125,000 dead.
Yeah, it's devastating. And like we say all the time, it's all about Trump's narcissism and doesn't care about anyone else losing their lives or their livelihood or anything. He's never cared. He never will. We got to take a break. When we come back, we are going to update you on the story of Elijah McClain, young man who was killed by cops last year. And now people are calling for an investigation. We'll give you the details on that and more.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be. Featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity, the UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. I want to go to the member comments first as usual. TYT.com/join to become a member. Lieutenant Mac McGee writes in, Cenk and Anna just donated $50 to support TYT and looking forward to your Twitch tonight. I'll donate to subscriptions on Twitch later as well. I love that. Thank you, brother. Last night I just found out my TYT social distance mask is in the mail. Looking forward to wearing it. Awesome. ShopTYT.com. That thing is, I don't know if we're going to sell out, but it's going through the roof. Everybody's loving these masks. Check it out at ShopTYT.com. Anyway, thank you for doing that tonight. Of course, we're interviewing Tommy Gong. I'm kidding. The misspelling would have been better if you called it Tommy Bong.
I think it's probably just the font.
Could be. Anyway,
yeah.
Tommy Chong is going to be on tonight with me at 8 o'clock on twitch.tv/TYT. And he actually got arrested for selling bongs. So that's a whole other thing, obviously from Cheech and Chong. All right. In fact, let's take a look at the thermometer right now since you mentioned it. This is tyt.com/go. And we're trying to get to 200,000. Obviously, very difficult with a couple of days left at the end of the month here. But we've done miraculous things before. You have. So $125,049. So let's keep it going. Thank you, guys. Obviously, as you can tell, we're excited to have progressive wins, and you don't often see that in media. The Mathematician says, just logged in late. Is it true about Charles Booker or just wishful thinking? It is true. We don't know yet that he's going to win, but he's right now leading. Oh, my God, I'm so worried now. Kentucky, even assuming the vote's not rigged, is the single dumbest state in the country. Are they going to vote for a black progressive in November? No, don't say that. I don't think that they're dumb. And yes, they can vote for a black progressive as long as he is populist and represents people instead of donors. I'm positive he could beat Mitch McConnell. And there's so many others here. I just got to read two more. Franklin Sharp, actually three more. Sharp Slicer says on YouTube Super Chat, this time he's gone too far messing with pot, referring to Attorney Barr. You may be surprised plenty when you mess with people's 420. Put your bongs down or put them out and do the right thing and vote them out. Do well. It's true. Barr is going after pot. What a curious, ridiculous crusade going on now. Hitman writes in, and I appreciate how much you cared about this to put into YouTube Super Chat, Hitman. He says, Cenk, have you seen The Platform on Netflix? I love that movie, and I think you would too. And you keep quoting it. I have to know. Nope, I have not seen it. Don't know it. But now I'll check it out. That's how we interact and do this show together. So there's so many other wonderful ones, but I'm going to just do two last ones from Twitch, because we're also live on Twitch. It's not just the original shows like Between Me and Uygur that's at 8 o'clock tonight. It's also the main show. Thunder Voice donated 100 bits for Anna to join the party tonight. So just putting it out there, Anna. And last one is Obi Mom Kenobi 7. She donated, I assume 300 bits. I've had my fill of willfully stupid people today. I'm glad Cenk and Anna are ragey. It helps me to hold on to my sanity a bit. Thank you, TYT. Well, thank you, too. We really appreciate it.
Well, ragey, I'm usually pretty ragey. This next story, though, it's one of those stories that's hard to watch and keep it together, but it's important to inform everyone about what's going on. So let's talk about Elijah McClain. There's growing demand for an investigation into the death of 23-year-old Elijah McClain, who was killed by cops in Aurora, Colorado last year around August. Millions of people have signed a change.org petition calling for the cops involved in his death to be fired and for an investigation to take place. Unfortunately, the district attorney, who refused to press any charges, has said that this petition isn't enough to convince him to press charges. But who knows? Maybe if he hears from enough people, that could change. So I'm going to go to an ABC video that summarizes the main portion of this story, but then I'm going to fill you in on details that are important to know, what was said in the police report, what was said in the DA's report. I want to warn you that this story overall is difficult to even talk about. The video is difficult to watch. So I want to give you that warning before we show you these videos. The first one is an ABC News report. Take a look.
The family's attorney says McClain was walking home after buying iced tea from a corner store when this call about a suspicious person was made to the Aurora PD in Colorado.
He puts his hands up. I don't know. He looks sketchy. He might be a good person or a bad person.
3 officers responded to the call. McClain is seen walking on the sidewalk when officers approach him.
Stop. Stop.
One officer is heard telling McClain to stop. Things escalate when McClain allegedly attempted to grab an officer's gun. The officers then subdue him to the ground and place him in a carotid control hold, a move that restricts blood flow to the brain. McClain begs for relief, even uttering those eerily too familiar words.
I can't breathe.
First responders arrive shortly after and administer ketamine, an anesthetic meant to rapidly tranquilize.
It's standard protocol for the paramedics to inject ketamine.
McClain went into cardiac arrest on the way to the hospital, where he stayed 5 days before ultimately being taken off life support. A coroner determined his cause of death undetermined.
So, Cenk, the chokehold is bad enough, okay? And then a medic shows up and injects him with ketamine. According to the DA's report, the cops stopped putting him in a chokehold after he lost consciousness. So I find it difficult to understand why there was any need to inject him with anything at all. But I want to give you some more details because that didn't really give you a full picture of what happened that night. So Officer Nathan Woodyard approached McClain and asked him to stop walking. According to District Attorney Dave Young's account, McClain appeared to ignore commands from the officer to stop and continued walking. So the DA's report further noted that as Officer Woodyard approached Mr. McClain on foot, again telling him to stop, Mr. McClain said, quote, "I have a right to go where I'm going." Officer Woodyard responded, "I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious." Now, mind you, he's just walking. He's just walking. Yes, he's wearing a ski mask, but I didn't know that wearing a ski mask while calmly walking at night was some sort of crime. The incident escalated after Woodyard grabbed McClain's arm while Officer Jason Rosenblatt grabbed the other arm. Woodyard later told a detective that he thought McClain might have a weapon on him, but that he would not allow himself to be searched. No weapon, by the way, was ever found. According to the district attorney's report, An officer can be heard on a body cam worn camera saying, "Stop tensing up, dude, stop tensing up." Mr. McClain then said, "Let me go. No, let me go. I'm an introvert. Please respect my boundaries that I am speaking." The situation then escalated after Woodyard and 2 other officers moved McClain to some nearby grass. According to Young's report, McClain can be heard saying, quote, "I intend to take my power back," as Officer Randy Rodema said. McClain was reaching, this is something we've heard over and over again in cases like this, reaching for one of the officers' guns. As the 3 officers then took McClain down to the ground, according to the report. Now, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical every single time a cop says, "Oh, he was reaching for my gun," because that's always what they say when they try to justify killing someone, right? And we're talking about a 23-year-old man who's walking alone. He's not doing anything wrong. You have 3 cops with you. You have 3 cops and you have him restrained. So I'm not buying it. And Cenk, before you come in, I think it's important for the audience to see the video that we do have of the incident. And this is an unbelievably difficult video to watch. I want to give you as many warnings as possible, but this is what happened to him. This is what happened that night.
Stop moving! Stop!
Still fighting us in the ground.
My name's Elijah McClain.
Yeah,
That's
but
all.
I'm ready to use carotid.
That's what I was doing. I was just going home. Why? I'm an introvert and I'm different.
Come out?
No.
Was he out? I heard some snoring.
I just
But
don't
he
like
wasn't completely.
going
He didn't lose
home.
consciousness.
I'm just different.
Tried
I'm
to
just
put my gun.
different. That's all. That's all I was doing.
It was actually Rosenberg.
I'm so
Dude,
sorry.
You're done, dude.
I have no gun.
That's where I tried carotid.
I don't do that stuff. I don't do any fighting.
Other units that are not here.
Why
They
were
can
you
slow it down a
telling me?
little bit.
I don't do guns. I don't even kill flies. I don't eat meat. I'm not a vegetarian. I don't judge people for anything.
Yeah.
It's hard. Go ahead.
Yeah, defund the police. So not only, look, I've agreed with the substance of defund the police, which doesn't mean abolish the police. It means reallocate money, keep some form of policing, but reallocate a lot of it to social workers, etc. So, but I'm now going further. I now agree with the slogan as well. Because what have I been saying for over a decade here? You got to change the entire culture of policing, the entire training of policing. But you know what? You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it with reform or transformation or any other things that I thought might do the job before. No, I never thought reform could do it, but I thought a wholesale transition. But they're not going to do a wholesale transition. No, that's why you have to completely get rid of the current police departments, completely get rid of them, and then rebuild them. It doesn't mean you don't have police, okay? But you have to rebuild them with a different culture. No rational person that isn't trained to be a cop would stay on top of that poor kid. Everybody would understand, look, the guy saying I don't even kill flies, I'm a vegetarian. It does. Sure, anybody could say they don't kill a fly, but the whole context of the video, you saw it. You're a human being. You saw it with your own eyes. There's no way that kid was going to hurt anyone. There's no way you needed 3 cops standing on top of him. There's no way that you needed a chokehold. There's no way you needed that much ketamine, right? So why do they do it? So 2 reasons. Number one, it's not because they thought he was dangerous. They can see the bag he has. It's got iced tea. He doesn't have a gun. Don't tell me he might have had a gun. That's your excuse for killing him. And it's not because he was reaching for the gun. That is a lie almost every time by the cops. Almost every single time that we have evidence, is the guy reaching for the gun or not, when the cops say he's reaching for it. Nearly 100% of the time, it turns out the cops are lying and he's not reaching for the gun. They're taught to lie. They're taught to lie for one another. It's called thin blue line. Okay, and they're taught to be vicious, absolutely vicious to all of us, but mainly the poor, somewhat to the middle class, and definitely to black people in America. Overall to minorities, but mostly to black Americans. I see a young 23-year-old kid that looks kind of frail there in that video, right? They see a dangerous black man. So now people are talking about this kid is such a wonderful kid. He played violin to cats in shelters. That's the first picture you saw of him. But he doesn't have to be a wonderful guy for you not to execute him in the streets. Okay, he just happened to be a wonderful guy. But it just stop judging the victim and let's talk about the people who committed the crime, which in this case is the police. So to me, the most outrageous part of this is the district attorney looking at all that and go, I don't see anything wrong. When the district attorney says that, that is a license to kill. Quite literally. He is saying to police, no, go kill any black man you like for no reason at all. And I can see it on video. I can see the kid saying he can't breathe. I can see that he's nowhere near a threat. No rational human being would think he's a threat. And I don't mind you killing him. I'm going to let you off. And the next time police do it, we're going to do it again and again and again. And we're going to fund them more. We're going to give them more money. We're going to give them more tanks, more weapons. Hell no. Defund the police. The police in this country, it's cancerous. We're going to do a story later in this show about 3 cops in North Carolina talking about how they want to set black people in this country back 4 or 5 generations, which unfortunately is accurate. And talking about killing the N-words and how we got to slaughter them, okay? And you think, and they happen to be caught for 46 minutes on tape. You think that's the only 46 minutes they were saying that? Or you think they're the only cops who were saying that? You think they're the only cops doing that kind of chokehold on McClain? No, we've now seen it dozens of times, and those are the only ones that are on video. How about when they're not on video? So no way, defund the police, get rid of this entire corrupt, cancerous system. They're not meant to protect and serve the community, the whole community. They're never taught that. No, they're basically private security guards for the rich and powerful. And so they don't view their job as protecting us. They view their job as protecting the rich from us. But again, particularly from black people, no matter what the situation is. The fact that they're not fired, the fact that they're not arrested is in itself criminal. Defund the police, defund them right now and rebuild. That kid should have never been dealt with by police in the first place. It should have been a social worker. He keeps saying, I'm different. Can you not understand that? Are police in this country really that maniacally dumb? And it's not that they're dumb. It's that they're trained to be vicious. And I'm sick of it. Defund them all. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the vicious racists in North Carolina. That story, every one of these stories is unreal. Defund all of them. All of them. Get rid of all of them. Rehire and do this in a rational way. Young Turks.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
Hey guys, welcome back to TYT. And I'm Cenk with you.
Hey guys, this was buried in reading your comments, which are so powerful. I'm going to get to those in a second. I just want to thank someone from the bottom of my heart here. John Lee, he gave a $20,000 donation. Look, guys, how many times have I said it? We literally cannot do the show without you. And he's been an activist member since 2016. He mentioned that he watched every episode of True North. He was kidding around saying, John, I don't know why you're scared of the polar bears. You just give them a Coke. They'll smile. They'll be fine. He said he loved watching JR as a kid during the Super Bowl coverage that we did together. And he loves his 100 different baseball caps. And so when you give that much, you literally name things in our studio. And so John's going to name the hallway as you walk into the studio. And that's a hallway. Bernie Sanders, Warren, AOC, so many great progressives will walk down and they're going to get to see it. He's not naming it after himself. He's going to name it after someone else. And if you want to see what you can name, by the way, tyt.com/press-on at the higher levels. And tyt.com/go to help. And John, thank you, brother. Thank you. So now let me go to your comments about today's news. This is our member section. Sina Hogoboom writes in, ketamine is a horse tranquilizer, not for human consumption. Well, it turns out it kills humans. Which says, as usual, black people get a death sentence for walking and refusing to comply. That's why they tackled him, by the way. They didn't think he was dangerous. There was 0% chance he was dangerous. He didn't comply with their orders, so they've been trained to murder him. Says Spice Boy Wannabe says, thank you, Cenk. The only way to have less police violence is to have less police. Threaten the money, make cops compete for jobs, force administrators to dump cops that are liabilities so they don't lose additional funding. Of course, they can't do that because of the police unions, who, by the way, also bribe Democrats with millions and millions of dollars. That's a story we didn't get to, but The Guardian reporting on it. Whenever they run into trouble, they already have the Republicans on their side. They go bribe the Democrats and they get whatever they want. Thirsty Goddess says, I hate that I married into a family of cops. I've heard the most horrible things come out of their mouths, horrible racial slurs that I had not even heard before, and I was in the military. So these are the realities. Previously, they were not allowed in any form of media to say that and to question cops. We were the only show doing it. Now there are other shows, and now finally in the mainstream media, they're beginning to say, maybe the police aren't all angels. Wow, thanks for showing up. And look, just a couple more here, because these are all interesting personal stories. Travis, this is now YouTube Super Chat. Thank you for doing that. Travis Morrison McKell says, I'm a physician, and the practice of injecting ketamine into an unconscious person will kill most people. This was murder by lethal injection. This is insane. Paramedics should not have that power. Luminia M says, love you, Cenk and Anna. Keep up the good work. Simo Samedi says, a friend's mother was staying at a hospital for heart-related issues, caught corona in the hospital, and died there. She didn't get to see her family in her last 3 months on Earth. Trump's America. I mean, it is hard not to get depressed reading these stories.
That was my number one fear when my mom was in the hospital. Number one fear. She was admitted for something different. Had no communication with her for the first few days. It's just terrifying. There's so many parts of this country that are broken, and I don't know. It's just depressing.
Last two here. Dave Piggott says, I visited South Africa in 1981. The U.S. is worse. And Caroline Roberts says, my heart is broken for Elijah. Guys, I talked to Ellie Mistal on the conversation. I hope you're watching. The conversation with our guests is at 5:30 p.m., half an hour before the main show. And Ellie made a great point. He said, look, we broke South Africa's apartheid through boycotts. The rest of the world should start boycotting us. And maybe, like monsters like Donald Trump, all they care about is the money. So maybe that'll do it. Defund the police. All right, Anna, go ahead.
All right. 3 cops in North Carolina have been fired after a police department audit of video recordings captured the officers saying pretty evil and racist things, including one of them hoping that there would be a new civil war to, quote, wipe Black people off the map, and that he was ready to be part of that civil war. So the Wilmington Police Department in North Carolina took the action against Corporal Jesse Moore and officers Kevin Piner and Brian Gilmore. Each was accused of violating standards of conduct, criticism, and use of inappropriate jokes and slurs. So how were these recordings discovered? Well, a sergeant was conducting a video audit, as I mentioned earlier, as part of a monthly inspection that was reviewing footage from Piner's car that had been classified as accidental activation. After the sergeant listened to the conversation and determined comments made by Piner and Moore were extremely racist, she contacted the department administrator for the camera system. Now, I'm going to go to the details of what was said in these recordings. Piner in one of them told Moore that he feels a civil war is coming and that he is ready. Piner said that he was going to buy an assault rifle and soon, quote, "We are just going to go out and start slaughtering them." And then he used an expletive to refer to Black people. "I can't wait. God, I can't wait." Moore responded that he wouldn't do that. Piner told Moore that he felt a civil war was needed to wipe them off the effing map. That'll put them back about 4 or 5 generations. Moore told Piner he was crazy, and the recording stopped a short time later. Gilmore, hired by the department in 1997, said that whites were now worshiping Blacks, adding he'd seen a video of a fine-looking white girl and his little punk pretty boy bowing down and kissing their toes. The two then complained about Black officers on the force, calling one a piece of expletive, and then complaining that another was sitting on his ass during the protests. Let's see how his boys take care of him when things get rough. See if they don't put a bullet in his head. I mean, just the most hideous, horrendous rhetoric and racism displayed in these recordings. So they've been fired.
Okay. Of course, all three of them say we're not racist. Okay, so
they're stressed out, Cenk. They say that they're stressed out, that the protests have stressed them out. You know, this job is stressful, right? I mean, there are definitely days like today, for instance, where you come across stories like watching Elijah McClain in Colorado get murdered by 3 cops, right? And it's stressful, but I don't have a reaction where I want to go out and start shooting and slaughtering people, right? I don't have that kind of commentary or that kind of urge. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so but I actually think that part is telling too. Remember that this is 46 minutes that they randomly caught. And so you think they're not saying this if they had caught another 46 minutes? You think others aren't saying this? Moore says, oh, no, I said that's crazy to Piner, or that we shouldn't kill all African Americans. And so I'm not racist. You know what else Moore said? He said that a Black judge was an effing Negro magistrate, and that a Black defendant that he had arrested, this woman, should, quote, let's see how this, she needed a bullet in her head right then and move on. Let's put the body out of the way and keep going, okay? So that's the guy who says, no, I'm the least racist of the bunch, okay? So the reason they say they're stressed out is because they can't do these things anymore. We can't set Black people back 4 or 5 generations anymore. We can't just shoot them in the head and move on anymore. I'm so stressed out. Defund all the police. Defund them, defund them, defund them. All right, we have a massive post game for you. TYT.com/join. Don't miss it. If you're on YouTube, you can just hit the join button below. We'll see you there.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.